Hey everybody, John Schumacher here. Welcome to Health Jams episode 8. And today we're going to be talking about how you can create a client magnetizing website using WordPress. Today we're joined by an expert WordPress developer. He's going to be answering all kinds of Michael and I's questions as well as some of your questions here. So if you're hearing me okay, go ahead and type yes into the chat bar. That's also the same bar where you'll be able to pump in some questions during our live broadcast today. So if you're have some questions, not sure about which plugins to use, shopping carts to use, different themes, all kinds of questions about WordPress. We're going to be talking about that and hashing that out over the next 45 minutes or an hour or so. So that's it. I'm going to turn it over to Michael real quick. And Michael's going to do a little bit of house cleaning and then introduce our guest expert today. Go ahead, Michael.
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Health Jams. Really excited about this episode and soon to welcome our guest, Dawood Miracle. And before I get started, for those of you who may be joining us for the first time, this is a live Google Hangout on air. So sometimes bleepy things happen. So be prepared. So if our screen freezes or the sound freezes, most likely it could be something on your end. Just refresh your browser and pop back in. If it happens to one of us as a presenter, we're going to do the same. But rarely do things happen, but, you know, this is live, and you never know what could happen when things happen live. So just be prepared. But without further ado, let me talk a little bit about why I invited Dawood to be part of this episode. I have actually been following him for a few years. He's been involved in WordPress, I think, for the past 7 years, so he's very knowledgeable. And actually, very recently, I actually personally hired him to do some web development work with my own brand in my caregiving coaching business. And we're doing some work together. And after talking with him and really doing some deep dive into his knowledge, I realized that I can't keep this expertise bottled up. It's important that we share it with you. And so we don't have a formal presentation tonight. John and I have some questions that we're going to ask him, but we also want to make this an open forum for you to type in and ask your questions. So as you think of questions, please feel free to enter them into the chat. We're going to get to everybody's questions. Pretend that you now have free consultation hour with a WordPress expert, and let's take full advantage of this because we're going to pick his brain to the point of exhaustion. No, I'm just teasing. But we're gonna really go out there and see how much juicy nuggets of knowledge we can pick up, so we can all go forward with our business. And I'm going to start right away, Dawood. First, you can feel free to share a little bit more about yourself, but you know, why would you think it's important for somebody who may not use WordPress yet, who is an entrepreneur who's considering it, to use WordPress as the platform for their website?
Yeah, thanks, Michael. You know, there's two main things that I always tell people about WordPress. The first is it really, truly is, without a doubt, no matter how overwhelming you think the internet is, it's really easy to use. If you can write an email and you can log into a site, so for instance, if you're using Gmail or Google, you know, you're in Google Hangouts, and you can log into your Gmail account and you can write an email, you can publish pages, publish blog posts, basically publish content in WordPress. So it is that easy, no kidding. The second thing is that it is because it's easy to publish content, it gives you incredible control over your website. The type of control that just 5 or 6 years ago was impossible, or it's close to impossible. I mean, I can really take a client of mine, turn them loose with 20 minutes of training, and now they have the ability to edit any page of their website, create as many new pages as they want, create any type of content they want, publish video, publish audio, publish slideshows, publish anything you could think of content-wise. And it is just about as easy as writing an email. It's no joke. So those are the two big reasons I think WordPress is a big deal. And how I got into it, a little bit of just a really quick background piece, is I looked for years for solutions to, I've been developing websites for 17 years. And I was always looking for ways to give my clients autonomy, to make it so that they could edit their own pages. They didn't have to come back to me and pay me to do things around content specifically. I mean, imagine if you have a misspelled word or you want to bold something, and you've got to get a hold of your web developer. You got to email them. You got to let them know where the page is that you want them to develop. You got to find out how much it's going to cost you. Then you got to find out when they're going to actually have time to do it. Well, now a week or two could go by. And maybe your developer gets to it, maybe not. Maybe it's such a small task they don't ever get to it. Maybe you got to pay out the nose to get it done because, you know, what seems like 20 minutes to me, you know, I can't build 20 minutes for because it's not equitable to my business. So all of that said, with WordPress, now you have the ability to monitor, to manage, to edit, to update that content yourself.
Yep.
And that was just something, as WordPress grew over its versions, it was a major piece for me to be able to set my clients loose on it. And now it's developed to the point that it really is truly a full content management system.
Yeah.
So that's why I use it. That's how I got here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, that's and that's why I use it too. As a non-techie, it's easy to manipulate pages. Like you say, if you can write an email, you can use WordPress and post pages and post posts and things like that. So Dowd, let's talk a little bit about, for our audience. I know a lot of people like myself. I'm not real techie, not real. With WordPress, I would say I'm fair. But let's talk about. Let's just throw this question out here. If someone's looking to outsource to get a WordPress site built for them, what should they be looking for in a developer? And I know the price varies based on functionality of the websites and things like that, but can you paint a picture as kind of what they would be looking for and maybe some average prices based on a few different needs?
Yeah, this is always an interesting question, because when we start talking about the financial side of it, there's some ways that I can, and I'll share these details in a sec, there's some ways that I can price myself out of the market. So I'm always willing to do that, because I know that ultimately people need help. So you can literally, so let's start with WordPress itself is free. And with most hosting companies, say like HostGator or Bluehost or GoDaddy, those are massive hosting companies. Millions of websites are hosted in those systems. You can literally have a one-click install. So you go in, you can install, WordPress will basically install itself, and once it's installed, you'll have a basic design already there. And WordPress designs are called themes. And so what happens is then you can go out and find one of, 50 to 100,000 free themes that are out there. If you can find something you like, you can actually get a design for free. And then if you go from $20 to $100, you've got an entire array of designs. And some of the stuff is so well done that if I would have been building a site like it, say we just take an example of a premium WordPress theme that might be $69. If I would have developed that for a client with all the functionality and all the features 6 or 7 years ago, that might have been a $10,000 website. Because there's so much functionality and there's so much nice design, and now today we got to think about mobile. So all those pieces come together, and so at that price, if you can do it yourself, if you're a little techie, you can do it yourself. And then developer-wise, really, I know people out there that'll do WordPress installs for $150. I think a good core place to start is probably between $500 and $1,500, and you can get a lot of different things for that price range. And then some of the more experienced developers that might do a site that's a little bit more, have more functionality to it than just I want to pay, I want 5 pages in a blog. Maybe you want, sign up for an email list, and you want connected to site metrics, and which basically means you can track your traffic. That you might want a shopping cart. John and I were talking about a shopping cart before we went on the air. Those things might increase the price, but really websites came down a lot in price with WordPress because there's so much development already done in the premium theme market. So, like for me, as just an example, when I develop a WordPress theme, I often start, not always, but I often start with something that already exists and then modify it for my clients. And that's great because I can keep the cost down for my clients. And I don't have as much time invested into it because some of the grunt work in the beginning is already done for me.
I see. Okay. So yeah, let's say because I think most of us who are entrepreneurs, we want a website that looks nice, it's mobile responsive, that can collect emails, that can integrate with your autoresponders, that obviously has Google Analytics, things like that in it, and then some kind of checkout shopping cart functionality. So for something like that, it's not the bare bones, obviously, but right. I mean, are you looking at outsourcing that for like $1,500 or?
Yeah, I'd say 15 and go up from there.
Okay.
And again, it just depends. It depends on the developer. It depends on the developer's knowledge. I'm usually a little bit higher than that myself, and then I have some things that I do where I do a lot of training and teaching and helping with marketing and things. So like my prices might be a little different because I bring another level of expertise in business and marketing as well as the technical website of it. And if I could be biased for a second, I think it's really important to work with somebody who at least has a basic understanding of business. If you work with a web developer or a graphics artist that doesn't really understand what you're trying to do with your business, that, for instance, you're trying to build an email list and market off of an email list. If you don't work with somebody who understands those dynamics and how you actually get people, say, to subscribe to a list or how to purchase a product, you're doing yourself a disservice, because often what happens is you'll get a website built, you'll launch it, and you'll think that that everybody should just come and buy from you. And it's usually not the case if you haven't also considered your business and the marketing side in relationship to your design.
So boil it down for us. What are the key things that an entrepreneur should look for in a web developer, a WordPress web developer?
Truthfully, I think the most important thing is communication.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys or gals with technical skill. There's a lot of guys and gals that can develop and design. But if you can't communicate clearly, if you can't have an open conversation with your developer, if they're pushy in a certain direction and it doesn't feel comfortable to you, those are all things I would say are red flags to maybe look somewhere else. I think that the relationship that you build with your developer, sorry, it's really windy here. The relationship you build with your developer is a pretty important piece. And so, ideally, they're going to be with you for a while. I mean, the idea would be that they continue to help you with other projects or with enhancing your current project as you go forward. So building a relationship, I think, is the most important key. And so if you don't feel comfortable with your website developer, look elsewhere.
Right.
There's lots of horror stories I could tell you about. We'll skip those for this one. Maybe we'll have a horror story talk one of these days.
Oh, we got an airplane.
Yeah, there's a plane going over now. It's great. I want to be outside because I live in Boulder, and it's just gorgeous here. And just when we started, the winds kicked. Anyway, so communication, I think, is the first and foremost. The second thing is don't lowball yourself. I get a lot of projects where somebody said, I spent $1,500 on this website. I start talking about what they were supposed to get, and they really should have spent $3,000 or $4,000 because they want a shopping cart. They really want to create an in-depth process of subscription to their list and having all these layers to it, their email list, and having different layers to that. And when I start hearing about what the size of their project is, I'm like, well, I would expect it to pay a lot more for that, even at the bottom basement level. And so don't lowball yourself. I can't tell you how many projects, maybe a quarter of the work that I do is cleaning up something that someone wasn't pleased with because they went in at a lower price. And now what happens is they spend their $1,000 now, and then they got to spend more on top of that. So
Right.
So watch that. Be really clear of what you want, and talk to your developer openly. If you're working with somebody or you're interviewing some people, ask them how much work is this? Get an understanding of what they're likely to do for you. The last piece I'd say, and unfortunately I've got to bring this up, watch for call it a bait and switch. A lot of times people will say, okay, I can do your project for $1,000. And then you start to do the project with them, like, oh, that's going to be $500. Oh, that's going to be $250. Oh, that's going to be, and now your $1,000 website becomes a $3,000 website. But to me, that always feels yucky. I mean, for lack of a better word, because price should be something, we all have this thing with money, so price should be something up front that's really clear between both parties. And so ask those questions of anybody that you're going to work with. Does this include everything? I've made you this list of things that I want in my website. Is this the price that you're giving me? Does it include everything that we've talked about? And make that piece clear. And get something where, if it's in writing or if you feel comfortable with a handshake or something in an email, get something where you can go back to and say, well, this is what we talked about. Is you said that I could have all this for this price. So price is a tricky thing, especially in this industry. So just be careful.
Yeah. They'll constantly upsell you to the next thing and kind of lead you along
Absolutely.
there.
Absolutely. I have a problem with that, so don't take me down that path.
Me too. I hate that. Those bastards.
I think for me, you'll hear if I ever, anybody I ever talk to, and Mike maybe can attest to this, I'm really clear about money. I'm really clear about what's going to exchange, how it's going to exchange, when it's going to exchange, and what's included in the exchange. I don't like to mess with trying to add on later. I'd rather say, this is the money, this is what I need up front to do your project. If it works in your budget, great. If it doesn't, let me refer somebody, or maybe we can do a lesser part of the project now and build to something later. I have a lot of clients that come back to me where I start with, let's do something on a lower scale that fits your budget. Let's get you a little coaching and training about how to actually market and get clients or customers through your site. And then let's come back and do phase 2 once your business is paying for phase 2.
Right.
So I think that's an important piece.
Cool. And jump in, Michael, anytime. I'll just keep rattling these off if you want. I got tons of these. So let's say you're just starting out, but you're on a low budget, and you want to get at least an initial WordPress theme up for yourself. You have a new idea. Yes, I'm going to go test this out and see what's up with it. Can you take us through from step one to step kind of, not done, but just to get a WordPress theme installed? Because my understanding is you buy a domain, and then you have a host,
Yep.
and then you install the WordPress on that domain name, right? You install that. Can you walk us through that process just in a few minutes?
Yeah. Let me say the analogy I use for these magical things of domain names and web hosting is, think about your telephone. Your telephone holds your contacts, and now it holds all these other things that we have with all these apps and smartphones and stuff, which of course I subscribe to. And then you have a telephone number, and that telephone number can go anywhere. It can go to your phone, you can transfer it to another phone, you can transfer it to another company, you can take it across country with you. So your domain name is like your telephone. It's like your telephone number.
Okay. And
the hosting is all the pieces that go to make up the website that the telephone number or the domain name connect to. And so when you think about WordPress or something you want people to download, or plugins, or a WordPress theme, all those things, all the files that create those things actually sit on the host. And the domain name the domain name, connects to the host so that the two things can talk to each other, and we can use the domain to find the website itself. So to get going, you need a domain name, $10 a year. Pretty standard, $10-15 a year. GoDaddy just raised their prices. And I'm not a promoter of GoDaddy. They're just a really stable company. So I often recommend my clients use GoDaddy because they're not going anywhere. If you're domain registered, if you use a little local domain registrar and they go out of business, it's really hard to get access to your domain name. Something I've dealt with a bunch. So I always recommend a big company.
Yeah, I use HostGator. I hope that should be.
Yeah, they're huge too, so they're great. So you get a domain name, you get a host. Figure hosting, reasonable hosting for most people's beginner needs, $5, $6, $7 a month, somewhere in there. So you've got your $10 a year, $15 a year. You've got your under $10 a month for your hosting. You get those things, you put them together. There's a little bit of techie stuff that makes that happen. Very simple techie stuff. Once you have that, you can go to your host and you can install WordPress. Quite truthfully, and again, this is where I can add some value and cut my legs off a little bit. If you called HostGator or GoDaddy or any of the big hosting companies like that, Bluehost, you call any of these companies and say, I just bought hosting with you, help me get my domain name connected and help me install WordPress. Most of the time, they'll do that on the phone with you. So you can quite literally, for the cost of your domain name and your host, you can call them, have them install WordPress, and now you got a website. Sweet. The cool thing is exactly. So WordPress comes with a basic theme. A lot of people don't use it, but you can literally do what I just said. Get a domain name for $10 or $15. Get a host, call the host and say help, and they'll install WordPress. They'll connect the thing for you, and connect the domain name. Sorry, and then you literally have a live working website right now. Okay. You can start marketing on it. You can start promoting things on it. You can start writing. You can start blogging. All of those things.
You can start selling on it and building your list on it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, are there any considerations when you're getting a host? I mean, I know a lot of people use Bluehost, HostGator, some of these places. I mean, is there any, as you say, all of your website stuff is stored on this host, right? Like your domain is the call number. Hey guys, I want to talk to so and so. They get through to your website and they go to your host where it's on their servers, right? All your content, all of your pages, everything is there. Is there anything to worry about there? I mean, yeah, probably, but I mean, what are the considerations there for?
Well, I'll tell you the biggest thing that I would make sure is that the hosting company does automated backups. Whether they do it weekly or they do it every 3 days or they do it nightly, you want to have it done at least weekly. Like HostGator usually does it weekly, I believe. Bluehost is similar. The reason you want to back up is the same way you want to back up your hard drive. Is if something goes wrong, you can always go back to the last backup and bring it all forward. And I've had this happen with a couple of clients before where they made some colossal mistake. A couple of them I have no idea how it happened. Things they weren't supposed to be able to do, and they did. And we just call the host, so they call me in a panic. We just call the host up, or at least I call the host up because I look like the hero when it's all done. I call the host up and say, hey, what's the last backup? And they'll say it was 4 days ago. Could you install the last backup? Yep. Okay, so they do that. It's done. Everything's honky-dory. Site's back up. Everybody's happy. So I think that's the primary thing is that they're doing regular backups.
And they
After
all do
that,
that, right? The big guys all do that, right?
all the big guys do that. It just depends on how often. And for most people, having a backup once a week is no big deal because you're not putting up that much content in a week anyway. The second thing is customer service. Look around. Like, we're talking about Bluehost and HostGator and GoDaddy. Everybody has opinions of those guys, but for the most part, they're really good companies, and they have pretty good tech support, pretty good customer service. People that'll talk to you without being geeky and techy. They'll meet you kind of at the layperson level. And more importantly is that they have 24-hour a day, 7-day a week support. Because you know how this works. 10:30 at night, you're typing away on your website, and boom, something goes wrong. What do? You can't go to bed, right? So you fiddle. If you can pick up the phone and call HostGator and say, hey guys, you might wait on hold for 10 minutes, but you say, hey guys, my site's down. And they can right there on the spot while you're on the phone help you figure out how and why. So after backups, I think having 24 hours, 7-day a week call service is a really, really important piece.
What about these stories you hear about crashing servers and stuff like that? Is there any is that a plan size? Like I think the baby plan or whatever for HostGator or something. I mean, it probably takes a ton of traffic, but I have heard some big marketers crash servers, with some of their launches and stuff. What's that about?
Yeah, trying to think about how far to go down this rabbit hole because it's kind of a big answer. Let me say it this way. There's a couple different types of hosting, okay? There's what's called shared hosting, which is all the inexpensive stuff out there. The stuff that's under $50 a month is usually shared hosting. And what that means is that if you go to where the actual physical servers are, the computers that are hosting these websites, is that lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of people, maybe sometimes 2,000 websites, are being hosted on the same box. And a server bank might be 10,000 boxes. Like at places like HostGator, they'll have server banks all over the country, and it gets complicated. So for your inexpensive hosting, the stuff we're talking about at $5, $6, $7, $8, $10 a month, you're going to get shared hosting. What can happen with shared hosting is if your site's not pulling a lot of traffic, somebody else's could be. And remember, just like on your computer, if you've got too many things running, you know how your computer slows down? The same thing happens on the host. If there's 1,000 websites and 1 or 2 or 3 websites are needing lots of memory and lots of bandwidth and lots of processor speed, just like your computer might, it'll slow everybody else's site down on the system. So that can cause servers to crash. If you find that you have a website that's starting to slow down, call your host and ask them why. Why is it slowing down? Okay. So that's another reason to have support. So after shared hosting, you have VPNs, and which stands for virtual private networks. You have other options where you share system resources with fewer and fewer and fewer and fewer people. So you get to the point that you have a dedicated server, which are usually $300, $400, $500 a month, maybe more, where you actually have one box that you're renting from the company that is yours. And nobody else is on it, nobody else is sharing resources with it, it is your box. But that's way, I think, out of the price range for what most people need in the beginning. $400 or $500 a month for a dedicated host, is I think unreasonable for anybody getting started.
Right, absolutely, yeah. So let's see here. Michael, you want to answer Stephen's question real quick?
Sure. We had a question from a member of our audience, Stephen. Stephen says he has Bluehost with an elegant themes website. Mm-hmm. And I've seen a Twitter box on many sites that displays all the tweets the blogger has posted in real time. Is this a feature of WordPress plugin or someone else's app?
Good question. See how I can answer that most easily. Usually it's one of two things. It's either a WordPress plugin, and there's really not one right now that I would say go out and get this Twitter plugin, because there's like 50, and 48 of them are really good. So you can just go out and search, use Google and search for, or you can search, by the way, from within WordPress under the plugins section. Go to plugins when you're logged in, go to plugins and add new, and you got a search box there that you can type in, Twitter widget or Twitter plugin or Twitter posts, things like that, and you'll come up with some. The nice thing about WordPress plugin system right now is everything's getting rated and ranked. So you'll start to see 4 stars, 3.5 stars, 2 stars, 5 stars. And so take that to mean something, because people are really serious about giving that feedback. And so if you find a Twitter thing that's 4 stars, install it and see how you like it. So the first thing, it could be a plugin. The second thing, and this is a little more on the techie side, is on twitter.com, when you're in your account, you can actually pull down the chunk of code that you can copy and paste into WordPress to get Twitter get your tweets and your timeline and stuff onto Twitter, or I'm sorry, onto your website. I say it sounds techy. It's really not so much. In WordPress, you get what's called a text widget. It's under the widget section, and a text widget can take any kind of code. So whatever code comes off Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn or Google Plus or any of those other companies you can think of, you can take their code and you can put that code into the text widget. Copy paste, simple thing. Don't have to do any typing, any worry about the code being wrong. Just copy and paste that code, and you'll end up with the functionality.
Yep.
I think Dogwood may have frozen. If you have this until come back on, you can just refresh yourself, Dogwood, and we'll take it from here with stuff. So if you can hear us, I think he froze.
I think he froze up on his signal there. Yeah, if you need to pop off and come back
I'm
on,
back.
Dowd, go ahead.
I'm back.
Oh, can you hear us?
You guys hear me now?
There we go.
Yeah,
You guys hear me okay?
now. We can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay, because you guys just came back from me. Okay.
All right, perfect.
So did that answer get finished? Did you guys hear the end of that answer?
I think so. Basically, you're saying that you can take a text widget and copy and paste the code from your, you can look these up. You can Google. I added this to my WordPress site. It's really simple. You just go and Google it and find the code and put it in a widget, basically, I think is what you do. I think Twitter even supplies that itself. I think the website does that. So.
Yeah. And Stephen, if you need more clarification, feel free to type further into the chat. We do have a question from Aaron as well, and Aaron wants to know what's the best way to block or prevent spam comments and contact spam.
Man. Okay. I'm laughing because I get this question from every single client. Let me offer to you before I answer Aaron's question. Any questions that get asked tonight, if you guys want to email through to Michael or John and have more clarification on a question, I'm happy to answer an email, or sometimes I answer emails by audio and it seems to work pretty well. So just so everyone knows that if you need a follow-up and there's not space or time, or I'm not being clear enough, feel free to get through Michael and John and they can reach me. Spam comments. Okay, here's what I do. Activate a Kismet, which comes with WordPress. And there's a little process to go through to make that work, and WordPress walks you through it, so don't worry about that. So use a Kismet, which is A-K-I-S-M-E-T. Most people fumble on pronouncing that. Then there's a couple of plugins I recommend. One's called Cookies for Comments. Cookies for Comments, and you can get that right out of the WordPress directory. So you can go to WordPress.org, or I'm sorry, you can go into your website, go to Plugins, add New, and actually search for Cookies for Comments. Install that. What that does, just briefly, is it tries to add a cookie to anybody who tries to leave a comment. So if it's a bot or it's not a human being, then Cookies for Comments won't let the comment go. It'll kick the comment out. That's the second thing. The third thing is I would use something like Defensio, which is Defensio without the E. So DEFENSIO.com. They have a free system that I would use that's very, very good at knocking out the rest of the comment spam. Very easy to set up. It's one of those things with an API key where you just take their little key and you plug it into the plugin. You can get the Defensio plugin through WordPress as well. Another one that's really popular is called Bad Behavior. And yeah, I love that one. Bad Behavior works a little bit with contact forms as well. So a little bit more setup there, a little bit more techy. They've got really good documentation. So if you search for WordPress plugin Bad Behavior, you'll get a lot of really great stuff on how to set that up effectively. And the Bad Behavior plugin, again, is free, and it's available through WordPress's, trying to think what they call that thing, their plugin place. You can download it from within your website. Yeah. You're not ever going to stop all comment spam. What's mostly going to happen is I won't go down that path. You'll hit like 95% of it. You're still going to get a little bit that's going to hit your moderation area, but that's a lot better than having tons and tons of it. Forms are a little more difficult. I'm not a fan of what's called CAPTCHA, where people have to type in, 4+3, or what's the temperature of ice, or those letters that you always see that you never really can make out. But they actually work. CAPTCHA pretty much works. So while I'm not a fan of it, I do recommend using it. And as I said, there's some things with Bad Behavior that'll work with certain form plugins for WordPress as well, like Contact Form 7 or Gravity Forms if you're using one of those. I think comment spam is easier to stop than form spam, and that's been my experience. So some of it you got to live with. It stinks. I hate it. I always wonder to myself, nobody would be doing this if people weren't making money. How the heck do you make money on stuff that I don't go look at? Like, I don't know. I don't get it. So
Yeah.
Yeah, that brings up a question I have, actually, because you touched on forums, which is, do you think it's better for business owners that have websites to just offer their email address just flat for people to send an email to, or to have some sort of captcha, not a captcha, but a form?
But a form to fill out. Yeah, I think it depends on your email, who you use for email. If you use Gmail or Yahoo or whatever, what was it, Hotmail, Live, Outlook, whatever Microsoft flavor of the year it is, they do a really good job of spam filtering. I have my Gmail address out there everywhere, and I see very, very little spam in my inbox. As a matter of fact, I was looking at it today. I've got 4,000 spam in my spam filter that I cleaned out 2 weeks ago. But I have I can't think of the last time I've gotten true spam in my inbox with Gmail. Not tooting Google's horn here, but I think they do a pretty good job.
Does it look professional though? I mean, when you do that, I mean, does it look more professional to have a form, or you know what I mean?
I think a form can be helpful. Like, to answer Michael's question more directly, a form I think can be helpful because you get a chance to ask a question or two. Like you, as the website owner, it's not just your name and email address, phone number. You can actually say, like, well, how can I help you? So people have the chance, of course, to type that in an email. But the form, you can use a question or two to sort of ping their memory a little bit, so that you can try to extract some information from them that's going to help you answer the question better. So I think form is a really good way to go. While we're talking about contacting, though, and if anybody out there is providing a service, even if your service is products for service, like people who sell courses or ebooks, and ultimately they're coaches or healers, or they're doing some kind of work where they're going to do some one-on-one or one-on-group service, make sure you have a phone number. I can't tell you how many sites don't have a phone number. It's nuts. If you're in the business of providing a service, make sure people can get a hold of you. So sometimes people want to pick up the phone and talk to you right now because they're having some problem that you might be able to help them with on the spot. So contact form, yes. Email, if you have your own email address, like my main website is demiracle.com, which goes through Google, by the way. But if I had that on like HostGator's email, expect some spam in that if you're going to publish that on your website.
Okay. Let's go back to plugins for a second. Sure. I've heard that sometimes when you install plugins or new plugins, like let's just say for me, for instance, I know how to install them. I hear about one and I'm like, oh, that's cool. I'll install it. What are the best practices for avoiding like conflicts in plugins, and also for like updating them? Like, do you always have to do the updates, or is there any dangers in the updates? Can you talk about those things?
Yeah. Let's see. Let me cover the updating first because it's a pretty simple answer. Do all updates. WordPress now, whether it's WordPress or whether it's a plugin, do them all, because any plugin developer that's continuing to develop their plugin is going to watch what's happening with WordPress, and as WordPress has updates, they're going to update their plugin. So trust that.
Okay.
So whether it's WordPress or plugins, update it all the time. The conflict thing is really complicated, honestly. It's not complicated when it happens, because sometimes it happens and your whole screen goes white and your website appears to be gone and you flip out. That's the worst case scenario. By the way, if that ever happens to anybody listening, if you install a plugin and all of a sudden you can't access your site, it's white, you can't log in anywhere, your domain looks like it's disappeared, don't fret. It just means that that plugin literally has to get taken off your WordPress installation. What usually it means is that you need a developer to go in and actually go into where the files are stored, remove that plugin, and once that plugin's removed, your whole site will come back. So don't flip out on that one. Plugin comments happen less, but I think that's because I use a lot of the same plugins and I've already vetted them. In many cases, I've already talked with the plugin developer. I know how they're coding, and a lot of the really big plugins that I use, get a lot of development. So things like I use there's a guy named Yoast, Juice de Volk from Europe, and he there's a an SEO plugin from him I really, really like. There's I think it's called WordPress SEO by Yoast, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yoast as in rhymes with toast.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, any of the ones, when you go and kind of thumb through and you see that, you thumb through plugins on WordPress.org or inside your WordPress, any time that you see 3, 4, or 3.5 to 5 stars, I would trust the plugin. Any place that you see that the plugin's being updated with WordPress, so you'll find a little compatibility box next to the plugin when you're looking at its details. As long as the compatibility is current, know that the plugin developer cares enough to keep it current, and I would trust those plugins. The plugins I definitely would not trust are ones where the developer isn't updating. So if we're in version 4 of WordPress right now, 4.0, and you like a plugin and you see that it hasn't been updated since, it hasn't been brought compatible to like 3.6, I wouldn't install it. There are so many plugins that do the same thing that, or do the same thing in little different ways, that if there's a plugin that's not current, just use Google and search for a plugin that is. So if there's some function you want, like Twitter, for instance, and you find an old plugin that isn't compatible with 4.0, then just go and search for other plugins and find one that is compatible with 4.0.
So how do you find how do you know if they're compatible? You'll just see the little stars in there, or up. How does that?
In the same place that we have those little stars. So the way that it works. So I'm trying to explain. So let's see if I can explain this visually. When you're looking at the details of a plugin, whether it's on WordPress.org or whether it's inside the plugins add new section of your site, your own website, your own WordPress installation, when you're in the dashboard area, as people like to call it. When you bring up the details for the plugin before you can install it, there's usually a box in the top right-hand corner. It was yellow for a lot of years. Don't remember what color it is this moment. It might still be yellow. And in there, there'll be a bunch of details. There'll be who's the developer, how many stars, all that kind of stuff. One of the options will be what's the current compatibility. And you'll see compatible 3.8, compatible up to 4.0. So just make sure that the most current WordPress version, you know what that is, because you can get that off your dashboard. When you log into your dashboard, right there at the top, it'll tell you what version of WordPress you're running, so you'll know if you have the most recent version. And then you can go to the plugin section. I'm trying not to get so techy. Sorry, that's what I'm thinking for a second.
Now, do you want me to? I can screen share. I have my dashboard open on one of my websites. You want to do that, guys?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
A good idea to illustrate.
That's a great idea.
Let me go ahead and put it back on me. Let me share my screen and start share. There I go, off into the wilderness. Do you guys see my screen okay?
We do.
Yes.
So I'm the world's worst at updates. So you're basically saying, here's one of my websites with a few plugins. I have less on this one than my other one, but you can see that the update is available for WordPress. I haven't done that yet. I'm going to go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, John, before you update the optimized press, you and I should have a quick little chat about it offline. I don't want to get into why now, because it could open a huge Pandora's box, and it would take us away kind of from basic WordPress into something much more intermediate to advanced. But optimized press is a theme that I'd want to know a little detail about before you just go ahead and update it every time.
Okay. So anything in particular I need to look at here? Here's a few of my plugins.
Yeah, let's do this. Let's go to under plugins on the left there, where we see the blue bar that says plugins with the little plug next to it. Let's go to add new.
Okay.
And I don't see it there. So let's search for Yoast SEO. So YOAST SEO.
Oops.
Oh yeah, go ahead and Yoast it. It should bring up his plugins.
Yep. Here it is.
And so here you see the stars. You can see the rating here. I'm pointing at the screen as though you guys can see me. So you can see the ratings here. It's something good to look at. How many stars? So Yoast plugin gets a lot of ratings. Go ahead and click Install Now under WordPress SEO by Yoast. And you'll see it'll bring up a box. It'll bring up it should bring up a box.
I just clicked on it. It said, "Do you want to install it?" Yes, I put yes.
Oh, I didn't see it on my side.
Okay.
Can we go back? Because I wanted to show where that box was where you find the compatibility. I just didn't see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go to Yoast. We'll search Yoast for plugins. And here it is.
Oh, it's already installed. So just for fun, do Google Analytics by Yoast and install, but don't go past the install screen that comes up.
Okay.
So I'm just waiting for this to pop up.
All it says is, are you sure you want to install this plugin?
Oh, bummer. Okay. Well,
Anyway.
okay, so that's not helpful.
Okay.
Yeah, 4.0 does what I'm suggesting. Is it comes up, a window will come up.
I see.
And yeah, plugins look a lot. The whole plugin setup looks a lot different in 4.0.
Oh, okay. But so he hasn't updated.
I haven't
to
updated yet.
Yeah.
Okay. So I should do that.
It should only take a second. It might be a good.
Just go ahead and update it.
To try it.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, you're saying, Dowd, that I should be updating everything every time without worrying about it, basically. But you're saying that with Optimized Press, there's something to talk about, huh?
Yeah, there might be some style stuff we want to talk about first.
All right. So let's see here. Be safe with automatic backup. So I can just go ahead and do this,
You
or
can go ahead and do it. Yeah, I'd be shocked.
update now, huh?
Blows up it.
So update now.
If something does blow up with it, I'll help you fix it. Yeah.
So boom, it goes black. I'm like, oh no. So anyway, let's see here. I just hit update now.
And so as everybody's seeing this, you can see that WordPress, it's this easy to update WordPress.
Oops.
You have to log back in before.
Let's see here. I not sure if I have it off the top of my head here. I'm gonna have to.
Well, why don't you go off of screen share for a moment so we don't see your passwords?
Okay. Oh, geez. All right.
So you can put yourself back on and then get yourself set up. Just go off of screen share first before you.
I am. There we go. Okay. So you guys, maybe you can ask a question. I'll try to get this up.
Yeah, sure. No, this is great. So anyway, we'll look forward to getting some more information and thinking about Optimize Press about that too in terms of updates and.
Yeah, I mean, just because we've opened the box up, the biggest thing is with some themes.
Yeah.
If you've made any customization to the theme itself, not that it has some things that you can move around or play with inside the theme, but if you've made some specific customizations to the theme itself, when you do an update, all those customizations will go away.
Gotcha.
So that's the key. And Optimized Press is one of those type of themes. It's not every theme that does that, but Optimized Press is one of those that will.
Do you like Optimized Press? I mean, we use it.
I mean, what it's for really is for sales pages, for landing pages. Yeah. And so it's not a theme often that you want to install if you want to create a content site and write blog posts and put up some pages about your services. Usually it's made mainly for landing pages and sales pages, kind of those one-page websites that you see that with the long sales process in it. So, but I do like it. I think it's an excellent theme.
Perfect. Hold on just a second there, Michael. I don't know if you have one more question.
Sure. Well, we can roll with it. We're doing okay. You just take your time. So maybe we could talk about social media icons, and a little bit, because people like to put their social media contacts, their pages have links on their website so people can follow them on their social media sites.
Yep.
Is there a particular social media share plugin that you particularly like the best, or?
I think the easiest one to use for beginners is AnyShare, and it comes out of a service. There's a plugin for WordPress that's called AnyShare, ANYSHARE, and I wouldn't say it's my specific favorite because I could do a lot of different things because of who like what I do for a living. But for the beginner, it gives you all the functionality and anything you'd ever want, and probably way more than you want. But it's all there, and it's really, really easy to use and really easy to set up. So I would say try AnyShare, and that's going to mainly be for sharing your posts and pages. So if you want to give people the ability to come and read something on your website and share it on Facebook, for instance.
So that'll actually, is that the one with the little buttons on the sides and stuff like that you can share out? Because
you can now, yeah, you can do that with that now.
Okay. Because there's buttons where you can go to your Facebook page or things like that, but you're talking about actually sharing content.
Sharing content, yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right, guys, I think I'm ready. You want to head back over to the site here?
And then we'll get to Stephen's next question afterwards.
Let me go ahead and share here. Off into oblivion. All right, you guys should see. Let's see.
Wow, look how different the plugin area looks.
Yeah,
wow, look at that.
Already.
4.0.
Wow.
So if you could just, because you're not going to install it, if you just install it, click Install Now for BuddyPress.
So basically installing these doesn't
This one should bring up a screen that gives you details.
Well, right here I'm seeing it's compatible with your version.
Yeah, so there you go. Yeah, okay, there you go. Yeah, exactly.
On the box, though, you don't have to download it. It looks like below
It's
here.
already telling you. Yeah.
It's saying compatible with your version, compatible with your version. So, yeah.
So the message to everybody here is update your WordPress to the latest version of WordPress. Because you'll get all the latest bells and whistles, and it'll make it easier for you. Don't worry about breaking your site.
And with plugins, just because this is where we started from, to kind of cycle back to the beginning of the plugin thing, make sure that all the plugins you're using are compatible with your current version of WordPress. And we just saw how you do that.
Yes. Perfect.
So basically now they just give you, it already shows it on the box before you even press anything. This is compatible with your theme. You're good to go.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so there's nothing to worry about slowing down your computer or wrecking it.
Not at all. Nope. No, as a matter of fact, nothing. You're doing all this through your browser, actually on your host. So there's nothing getting installed on your computer at all. It's all being done at the host level. And
speed is always tied to your internet connection and your computer, right? It's nothing to do with the website. What about loading rates, like load rates? What affects that?
Plugins.
Plugins. Okay, well, there's some that affect it then, right?
There are some that affect it. If you're running too many plugins, or you're running plugins that aren't compatible with your current version, that can slow down your site. The thing that I see most often, though, like with my clients, is loading images that are just way too big. If you take an image from your digital camera, and it's 8 megabytes, it's massive, and you can't put it on this little tiny website. So it's always good, and this opens up a can of worms, of course. It's always good to try to reduce the size, even if you just reduce the dimension, the height and the width of the photo, before you put it in WordPress. I've seen sites where people take 15 pictures out of their digital camera. They're massive. They get them into their site, and the site has to load all that stuff before it can actually render a page. That's the biggest thing I see that slows down WordPress sites for the beginner. There's all kinds of things that slow down sites. Plugins are some of it. Sometimes how your theme's designed is some of it. This is where we go from kind of the basic stuff into really the intermediate and advanced parts of WordPress. I would say if your site's running slow, ask somebody you trust about it. Yeah. And you can always call your host and see what they have to say about it. I mean, you're paying them, and if they have phone support, that's part of your service. So call them and say, hey, can you just... They can often run programs that'll say this specific thing is slowing down your site, this plugin, or it's the database, or it's this, or it's this. So
I ran an analytics on my site, my New Wave Healthcare website, and I host videos. I have tons of videos, but I don't host them on WordPress. I have them on YouTube, and then I embed them. So that shouldn't slow it down, right?
A little tiny bit, but not much.
A little bit. Yeah, but it says on mobile. When I ran it on mobile, it was terrible. I was like, oh, this is so bad. Yeah. And then I look at it, it's like taking too long sometimes. Not the worst, but it's not the best either. So I'm like, oh, crap.
Is this on your homepage?
Well, it was on, the homepage. I mean, what's on my homepage?
Yeah, because I was asking because if you have a blog on your homepage and it's loading all these videos, because I haven't looked at the site, have WordPress show fewer hosts. So you can go into a section in WordPress, in the settings section, and you can say, rather than show 10 posts, show 5. Right. And that'll make your page load faster.
I see. Okay. Cool.
If you want more details on that,
we have another question from the audience.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, and this is a question about: is there any potential conflict in WordPress if I also use lead pages? Lead pages is something that's very popular now that a lot of entrepreneurs are using. So
zero.
That's what
Zero
I thought.
conflict. Yeah, no conflict at all.
Perfect.
I like lead pages a lot. I only develop in WordPress, and I really like lead pages.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll just, you can put a link, like a pretty link or some kind of a different link. Lead Pages actually has a plugin that you can actually install that you can just take and you can search for the lead page you want, and then you can make it like your website / whatever page you want, and when people go to that, it goes to the lead page. So yeah, perfect. So, what about membership plugins? Let's talk about membership sites if we have the time here. We're digging into that. I mean, there's so many out there. Wish List, or we use Optimized Member. I don't know if that's the best option. There's probably so many out there. But what are some of your favorites, and what are some things to think about there?
Well, my favorite went away. Copyblogger, my good friends at Copyblogger, I'll throw them out a pitch, used to do something called Premise. and they took it away, and now they've made it part of what they call their Rainmaker system, which is its own world altogether. Rainmaker is this, they host your site. They have all this functionality that comes with it. They've even manipulated WordPress so it looks different. Really love those guys. Trust those guys a ton. I don't know what their price is going to be when Rainmaker finally launches. I know that they just closed a grandfather offer for $97 a month. Now that includes hosting and all this other techie stuff with it, and it's a price forever. I don't know what the final price is going to be when they actually open up and launch Rainmaker officially, but $100 a month, $150 a month, $200 a month, it gets a little hefty, and part of that is a membership site, of course. Getting back to what you might do on your own site, Wishlist I think is the best option. There's some other plugins that do good. You mentioned one. Wishlist has just been developed for a long time, and those guys do a good job with support. They do a really good job with training, and I think they do an excellent job with helping people build. They do a lot of webinars and teleseminars and stuff, helping people learn how to actually build a membership site that is sustainable over time. It's really easy to build a membership site. It's very difficult to have one maintained for 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 years. So they do a really good job, I think, at educating people once you're part of their network.
Why is it hard to maintain?
Keeping people's interest, keeping people paying.
From a sales perspective, okay.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's impossible. Trust me. It's certainly not. But it's often something you need to plan for. You need thinking about planning out not just your first program, but really your first 4 programs, maybe over the course of a year. So you're keeping people's interest. The checkout rate, or the rate of people the people who unsubscribe from membership usually hits about 60 days. Once they've gotten that second payment, the second payment being the beginning of the 60-day period. So they did 1 month with you. Now they're paying full price for a second month. Usually at the end of that second month is when you get the most dropout with a membership site. So you want something, if you're going to do a membership site, you want something at the 45-day or 50-day point where you have some new thing that you're giving them that's going to re-peak their interest.
Yeah.
Membership sites are all about content. All about content support.
Yeah. And finally, we talked about this a little bit before, but to wrap things into the end here, we talked about a lot and covered a lot of great stuff. Let's talk about shopping carts. And we already talked about this a little bit before we went on air, but let's dig back into that, because that's something as an entrepreneur, if you want to sell something, and set up a nice sales funnel. Can you touch on that for us?
Yeah, let me say something before that, because we didn't talk about this down earlier. A lot of people don't actually need a shopping cart. If you're happy with PayPal, which is a really simple way to set up payment, if you're happy with the PayPal process, use PayPal Buy Now buttons. You can get those right out of PayPal. They can go right into your WordPress pages. They can go into your landing pages, and it's a really simple way to start getting people buying now. You could literally get off this call, and if you have a page in WordPress and you're ready to sell something on it, log into your PayPal account, go to where they have the merchant section, find a Buy Now button, go through their little 10-minute process of, what's it called, how to make, what's it cost, all those things, and they'll give you the little chunk that needs to go into your WordPress page. Mm-hmm. That's the quickest and easiest way. Most people don't need a full-blown shopping cart for what they're doing. Now, if you talk about products, and you talk about doing multiple products, that's when a shopping cart can be really helpful. My favorite is WooCommerce. Hands down, it's a phenomenal plugin. The guys have done an awesome job at Woo Themes of developing it. So you can just Google WooCommerce, W-O-O Commerce. They give you a ton of features for free. So, for instance, connecting WooCommerce to your PayPal account. You can literally install WooCommerce, create a couple of products, connect to your PayPal account, and be selling, within a couple of hours through PayPal. You'll go from your website to PayPal and back, just like PayPal usually happens. That's free. That's all part of WooCommerce. Now, the great thing about WooCommerce is they have dozens, if not hundreds, of add-ons that let you do a whole bunch of other things. Like if you're selling a physical product and you're going to mail it, you can buy a $20 plugin, for instance, that'll let you do with mailing costs, and you can have mailing costs separate from your price. Just things like that. There's tons and tons and tons of things that you can use with WooCommerce. That's why I like it so much. It's very well developed. It's very well maintained, and they support it really, really nicely. So remember, WooCommerce is free initially. I mean, the plugin itself is free. Not initially, it's just free. It's getting some of these add-on things that might cost you money. So, for instance, if you use authorize.net or you use, can't think of the other one I was going to say. Anyway, authorize.net or Stripe or something like that as a payment gateway, you might buy a $20 plugin or $30 or $40 plugin from WooCommerce to connect authorize.net with your WooCommerce. So it might have a little bit of a cost there. Just do a little research on it. And you can always ask questions about it. Right. Outside of WooCommerce, there's a lot of other really good plugins, but most of them are a little clunky. Like Shop, S-H-O-P-P. I don't want to put those guys down at all because they do a great job, but their plugin's just a little harder to use than WooCommerce. WooCommerce makes it really easy and clear. How to add products, how to edit products, how to get products on your website pages. They make that really, really clear. There is one called WP Commerce, which we accidentally talked about earlier. Mm-hmm. It's probably one of the first real good shopping cart plugins. It goes back many, many years. I don't see a lot of people using it. I see most people now using WooCommerce. So the fact that the basic functionality is free and you never have to pay anything if you're just going to process payments through PayPal, I think WooCommerce is a great choice.
Cool. I think we have a couple questions, Michael, huh?
We do. We're going to close with the last questions from the audience here. Please. And it's actually a great segue because we're talking about shopping cart, and I know, Dawood, you and I have been talking about this for me. What's the best way to offer an affiliate link for membership to my site? And in his particular case, it sounds like Aaron is now using eJunkie and Optimized Member combination, so he was talking about that with that work. And then he was wondering if there's any way to offer an affiliate link via PayPal buttons.
A couple questions there.
Yeah, so let's go with... Okay, so affiliate, it's funny, as much affiliate marketing as gets done on the internet, there's not a lot of great affiliate solutions in general. Michael and I have found one, and I mix up the name, so if you know the name, Michael.
It's affiliate WordPress is what it is, so okay. I'll type it into the chat. It's affiliate WP.
Yeah, affiliate WP. Everything I've seen about it so far, I really, really like. And what it does is it'll track all your affiliate stuff inside your website. You don't have to use a third party like eJunkie. Like, for instance, eJunkie does a nice job, but they do so many things because they're really a store that I think it's difficult for a lot of people to use. Really, the best solution out there, I think, is outside of most people's price range, and that is, shoot. You and I talked about it, Michael.
Are you talking about One Shopping Cart or Infusionsoft or things like that?
No, I was thinking of, I'm sorry, I forgot the name. If we can think of the name, maybe there's a way we can get it out to people. But it's really expensive. It's $500 to set up, and then they take a good percentage. But it's the best solution I found out there. I just can't think of its name. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, if it's that expensive, forget it.
Yeah. We're dealing with the
So anyway,
here, so yeah, it's no problem.
Yeah. But I think eJunkie is a little clunky. There's a rhyme there. I think you'd be happier. I really like what Michael and I are putting together with this affiliate WP option. So I'd give that a look. Can you add affiliates to PayPal buttons? See, affiliates aren't inside the button. This maybe is helpful. Is you don't usually put the affiliate information inside the payment process. It usually is a link. So if I was on, it's Aaron, right, that we're answering the question for?
Yeah, Aaron.
Yeah, so Aaron, if I was one of your affiliates, you would give me a link, or your system would give me a link that I would use in emails or social media or whatever I'm going to market with. And when people click that link, it puts a little cookie in their browser, and then the browser that they're using will know that I should get credit if there's a sale. So the affiliate piece happens actually at a different level than the payment process, if that's helpful. So really, affiliate's like a tracking system, not a sales system. And so it can work with anything. Affiliate links can work with anything that you're doing sales on. There's no limitation to that at all, no matter whether you're using PayPal or something else or membership sites or whatever the case. You can always use an affiliate link.
Could I add something to that too? That I was thinking about is just, one of the things as I'm thinking about an affiliate system, I think that would you bring up a good point, is most people, and especially as you start playing with or connecting with other people who are going to promote your products and services, they're going to want to look at what they're doing with you. So if you have an affiliate system, an actual system where they not just get a link, but they actually have their own username and password, and they can see their own stats, like how many people are clicking, how many people are purchasing. They can do the tracking on their own. I think most people that you'll partner with, they're going to want to know you have a tracking system, not just a link.
Yeah, exactly. And along with that, since we're talking about it at this level, they're also going to be really happy if you can provide them with banner ads, if you can provide them with the actual link code itself, if you can provide them with even maybe some emails or tweets or things that are already written for them that they can send out. The more you can do to make it easy for your affiliates, the more likely that they're going to promote your stuff. I've got clients that do affiliate marketing quite a bit, who every month they put out email. They send to their affiliates this email. If you want to promote this month, then here I've written 3 emails for you. Pick one of them or use them in a series or whatever you want to do to promote that product. So they don't even ask their customer or their affiliate clients. They don't even ask them to create anything. They're just like, here, I created this for you. Use it. So the more that you can support your affiliates, the more likely they are to help you, the more likely they are to promote you. So again, I just want to say that since we went down that rabbit hole a little bit.
Absolutely. Cool. That's great. Well, we are at the top of the hour, and we're getting a little bit over time. This has been fantastic. I just want to say thank you so much, Dougwood, for being on with us. People may want to stay connected with you, and I know on your site you actually have a guide. I was actually going to share the link to your site, which is dmiracle.com, and maybe if you could talk a little bit about what they can opt into if they choose to get more information from you, that'd be great.
Yeah, I've got a 10-point guide that I call, it's 37 or 47 pages. Shoot, I'm sorry, I don't remember. I call it client producing websites, and the idea is I give you really kind of the 10 points that you really need to consider on your website for free, so that you can evaluate your own site and say, do I have these things? Do I have these 10 things going on? That's available for free, and you join my list, and I send out stuff sometimes a couple times a week, sometimes every couple of weeks. I am getting back into email marketing, so it'll be more consistent. And from that, I'll likely produce again my podcast, which I used to call Morning Mentoring, where I do a quick 3 to 5 or sometimes 7-minute audio, really kind of nailing down for that week what you could be doing in order to promote your business online. So that's usually what you get for being on my list, is you'll get that podcast as I start that back up again.
Perfect. All right, guys. Well, if anybody has any last-minute questions, otherwise I think we're going to wrap this up. Dowd, thank you so much for coming on, sharing some knowledge with us. I learned a lot, and I'm sure everybody else did here.
We got some great comments coming in of people really loving it, saying it's fantastic. So glad that they were here. So
let me offer a couple of things. One is I'm happy to come back if you guys want me back and there's demand. We can even get more specific about other areas if you want. Second thing is, if anybody has questions about anything, I mean, if you think of a question tomorrow night, either get through me from Michael or John. You can contact them and they can get a hold of me, or you're welcome to go through dmiracle.com and contact me there. I answer questions all the time for people that never pay me a cent, truthfully. So my business model is based on service. So I like to give, and I know that in giving, it all comes cycling back. I've done that for 17 years, so I'm quite happy to answer anybody's questions, whether it's tomorrow or 6 months from now.
Perfect. All right, well, I guess that'll do it then for this discussion today. We'll have this replay page up on the newwavehealthcare.com website under the Health Jam section. We'll also be sharing it on social media and within our groups that we have on Facebook and things like that. So the replay will be coming out, and I'll try to gather up some of the resources mentioned here. There was an awful lot of name drops, which is great. Awesome, right? I love name drops, as I love when people give meat and not fluff, and we definitely had a meaty conversation today. So I will try to gather up some of those that I'd written down and see if I can link those in the page as well as your information and your website and all that stuff. So that should be available probably in the next couple days or so. So
okay, great.
All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that discussion, and that's it for now. We'll see you guys on the next one.